Hello again, everybody, and God be with you. I hope you're still keeping well and still keeping patient. I must admit, at the moment, I find sometimes my patience is getting a little bit thin, but hopefully soon we'll get some news as to when we can start to plan to do some of the things we've not been able to do for quite some time now. Hopefully soon we'll be able to get back to meeting in church, albeit still being very careful. I hope so, and I pray for that. Well, today's story from the Bible Baddies is from the New Testament. It's from the book of Acts, and it's about a man called Simon Magus. And this is how Bob Hartman introduces the story. Simon was jealous. It was as simple as that. Somebody had something he wanted, not a possession, not a position, not even a person. No, it was power. Power to make the lame walk and the blind see. His jealousy ate at him, and that ugly mix of frustration, disappointment, anger, and bitterness blinded him to everything but his own desire and led him to do something terrible. That's the way it is with jealousy. Sometimes the jealousy itself makes it even harder to get what we want. The sad thing is, that in time, the very thing that Simon wanted might have been his for the asking. But it was not for the grabbing, and it was not for the taking, and it was certainly not his for the buying. Whenever Simon walked through the streets of Samaria, people stopped and took notice. Sometimes they pointed, sometimes they bowed, sometimes they feigned the courage to wave hello. And sometimes they even shouted, "Look, there goes the great power of God." Simon loved every minute of it. He didn't show it, of course. It would have spoiled the air of mystery and awe he'd worked so hard to create. So he would nod and stretch forth his hand ever so slightly, like a king waving to his subjects. But Simon was no king. No royalty of any kind, for that matter. No, Simon was a sorcerer. Or to be more precise, he had quick hands, a way with healing potions, and a knack for making predictions that, more often than not, came true. Magician? Rogue? Call it what you like. Simon's chosen occupation had brought him fame and wealth and power. And as far as he was concerned, that was all that mattered. And then suddenly, one day, everything changed. Simon walked through the streets of Samaria and nobody noticed. Nobody pointed. Nobody bowed. Nobody said, "There goes the great power of God." For the streets were empty and there was nobody there. Well, almost nobody. A boy ran past Simon, nearly knocking him down along the way. "What's the hurry?" Simon called. "It's the miracle man," the boy shouted back over his shoulder. "He's in the fields on the edge of town." "A miracle man?" Simon grumbled to himself. "The last thing I need is competition. But what should I do?" He wondered. Should I ignore the man completely? Or should I hang about at the edge of the crowd, have a good look at his bag of tricks, and then make him look a fool in front of everyone? As Simon pondered this question, someone else rushed by, bumping into him. It was Nathan, the town baker. "Beg your pardon," he muttered, "but, wow, at the edge of town." "Yes, I know," said Simon, with a condescending smile. "A miracle man, or so they say." "Oh, he's a miracle man, all right," the baker answered. "Blind folk see, lame folk walk. Come, see for yourself." "Yes, I think I'll do just that," said Simon, the smile dropping from his face. The baker rushed off again, but Simon took his time. There was a part of him that wanted very much to see this miracle man, and another part that was afraid of seeing him at all. When Simon finally reached the crowd, no one even noticed him. No one pointed or bowed or waved, for every eye was trained on the man at the front. He doesn't look like much of a sorcerer, Simon thought. Those robes are far too plain, and his gestures much too awkward. Old Hannah, who had walked with a limp for years, stepped forward and held her hands out to the miracle man. Simon just rolled his eyes. Good luck with that one, he thought. A dozen healing potions, and all she could do is complain about the taste. The man took hold of Hannah's hands. He bowed his head and shut his eyes and whispered some kind of spell, or at least that's what it looked like to Simon. Where's the drama? Simon wondered. Where's the flair? And then he grunted so that everyone around him could hear. Not exactly a real magician, if you ask me. And he turned to walk away. But at that moment, a cheer burst forth from the crowd. Simon turned back to look, and there was Hannah leaping and dancing as if she was 9 years old. It's amazing, someone shouted. It's a miracle, shouted someone else. And then someone at the front shouted something that made Simon cringe. This man must be the great power of God. Now Simon wanted to shout as well. He wanted to shout, no, this man is not the great power of God, I am. But much to his surprise, the miracle man said it for him. Please don't call me that, he said. I am not the great power of God, or any power at all. My name is Philip. I am a follower of Jesus of Nazareth, and it is through his power that this woman has been healed. Simon was shocked. If he had made old Hannah walk, he would have raised his arms to the sky and commanded the crowd to fall on their feet. And they would have. He was sure of it. But this man? What was this man up to? What did he want? I only want to talk to you, Philip continued, to tell you about this Jesus whom I follow. And to Simon's amazement, that's exactly what he did. He took no money. He asked no favours. He simply went on healing people. And as he did so, he told them about a man named Jesus. Jesus was God's own son, Philip explained. Then he laid his hands on a troubled man who screamed and then smiled gently as if something bad had left him. Jesus came to overcome evil. He came so that people could be part of his kingdom, a kingdom of goodness and peace. Jesus was a teacher too, Philip went on. And as a little girl who had been blind looked for the first time at her mother, Philip said, we are all blind in our own way. Jesus came to help us see more clearly what's important and to show us the truth about God and life and love. Simon listened carefully as Philip lowered his voice. Sadly, Philip sighed, there were people who did not like Jesus, so they crucified him and buried him in a tomb. The crowd sighed along with him and then watched as a smile broke out on his face. But God would not let that be the end of the story, he said with a grin. So 3 days later, he raised Jesus from the dead. I know people who saw him. And now that he's gone back to be with his Father in heaven, he wants all of us to follow him and be part of his kingdom of love. Simon watched as the people streamed towards Philip. He was having trouble making any sense of this. But there was one thing he knew for certain. There was no way that his own power could even begin to compare with the power of this Philip or the Jesus he spoke of. And if he couldn't beat them, then there was only one choice left. He would have to join them and get hold of this power for himself. Several days went by, and Simon stayed as close to Philip as he possibly could. He listened closely to Philip's prayers. They were definitely not spells, Philip had explained politely. He carefully watched Philip's movements, but try as he might, Simon could not make the power of Jesus work for him. Simon was disappointed. Simon was frustrated. And it didn't help that everyone's attention was still focused on Philip. That is, until two of Philip's friends came to town. The older one is Peter, Philip explained to Simon, and the younger one is John. Both of these men were Jesus' disciples. They lived and worked with him for 3 years. They saw him when he rose from the dead, and now they have come here from Jerusalem to pray for all the new believers. Simon watched these two men, and as far as he could tell, they didn't look any more special than Philip. Why, Simon thought, the older one looks just like a common labourer or fisherman. Philip, however, treated them with the utmost respect. And as soon as they began praying and placing their hands on the believers, Simon understood why. For the most amazing things began to happen. Some people fainted dead away. Some began speaking in other tongues, and others just leaped up and down for joy. Simon listened carefully, and he heard the two men say the exact same words. May the Lord fill you with his Holy Spirit. Ha ha, Simon thought. That's the secret. The power lies in this Holy Spirit. And as soon as he got the chance, he took Peter and John aside. He'd had a good look at them. Maybe Philip hadn't wanted any money, but these two men, the older one in particular, looked as if he could use a set of new clothes. And so he bowed and said, as humbly as he could, I too would like to have the power to pass on this Holy Spirit. How much would it cost to buy it from you? Peter looked at John. John looked at Peter. And Simon thought for a moment that they might ask for time to talk together about the price. But when Peter gave his answer, Simon realized that he got it all wrong again. A curse on you and your money, Peter shouted. And Simon shrank back at the force of his words. The Holy Spirit is God's free gift, Peter went on, and to offer to buy it with money shows that your heart is not right with God at all. I can see you are full of bitterness and jealousy, and the best thing you can do is ask God's forgiveness for what you have done. If Simon had thought about it, even for a minute, he would have seen that Peter was right. Bitterness at losing his fame and power and attention had been driving him all along. But Simon had only heard the curse, and he thought that someone powerful enough to bless the blind and the lame could make his curses come true as well. So he begged Peter to remove the curse and then hurried away from the crowd. No one knows for certain what happened to Simon, but there is an old story which suggests that his bitterness never did go away. The story says that Simon took his bag of tricks to other places in the ancient world and that he managed to rebuild his reputation. But then one day, many years later, he ran into Peter again. Still angry at his embarrassment in Samaria, he challenged Peter to a contest. You say that this Jesus was buried in the earth for 3 days and then rose again. To prove that I am even greater than he, I will be buried as well, and I too shall rise in 3 days. That's what Simon did, so the story goes. He had himself buried in the ground. And as far as anyone knows, he's buried there still. So, poor Simon, eaten up by jealousy and not listening to good advice when it was given. Oh, I'll have another story next week from the New Testament. In the meantime, stay safe and stay patient. God be with you.